That frightening accident on San Francisco Bay Bridge, which sent 2.5 tons of metal crashing down on drivers during rush hour. Commuters now have a traffic mess to deal with, still not open this morning. The accident, of course, raising serious questions about how safe the country's bridges really are. And Chris has been looking into that. Chris.
Now, the problem here, Diane, is that the Bay Bridge accident all by itself is disturbing enough, but even more disturbing is the possibility that this is a sign of a more widespread national problem with bridges that have been allowed to fall into disrepair.
It was like a scene out of a movie. 2 metal rods and a 5,000-pound beam tumbling off San Francisco's busy Bay Bridge, amazingly causing only a minor injury.
We didn't see what hit us. We did just all of a sudden, bang.
Now investigators say high winds likely caused it. Even more incredible, those pieces were just installed on Labor Day weekend after workers repaired another problem with the bridge, a cracked eye-bar.
The Bay Bridge is another wake-up call. The condition of our bridges is serious at this point.
It's been 2 years since the last major bridge disaster, the rush hour collapse of the I-35 bridge in Minnesota, killing 13 people. That 40-year-old bridge had been labeled structurally deficient by the federal government.
Those are scary words in that federal report, structurally deficient,
Sure.
May need replacement, the numerical scores aren't that great. Why wasn't that a cause of concern for you?
Well, I think it was a cause for concern, but the federal government uses a terminology. They're kind of bottom two categories of structurally deficient and functionally obsolete. There are 80,000 bridges in that category or so across the country.
Now, 2 years later, 1 out of 4 bridges are still structurally deficient. And while the Minnesota collapse was blamed on a design flaw, experts say bridge problems are often caused by a simple lack of maintenance. Consider what stresses bridges are under. This time-lapse video shows the daily swaying of the Manhattan Bridge. On average, bridges are 43 years old and designed to last just 50 years.
That life can go beyond the 50 years. But we have to spend the money. We have to make the investment in our infrastructure so that we can make it last longer.
To properly maintain our bridges would cost an estimated $17 billion a year. Currently, just $10 billion is spent.
We rebuilt a bridge in Minnesota in 437 days. We need to do that all over the country. We can't put this off. We can't risk another bridge collapsing.
Now, as for San Francisco, there's also new heightened concern over whether the bridge could survive an earthquake like the one that flattened part of the bridge 20 years ago. And Chairman Oberstar, who you saw in the piece there, says he's having trouble getting support for his bill, which would spend $450 billion on infrastructure over 6 years. Important to note, $787 billion is what's in the current stimulus package. Just 6% of it, Diane, is going to be spent on infrastructure. 6 out of $787 billion.
Inconceivable. Okay, thanks, Chris.